Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this presentation, we will discuss a mystery which lies at the heart of modern social sciences. The word science in social science implies a claim to universality, just like the laws of physics. So the question is, Western social science must be based on lessons derived from European historical experience. How can this be universal? Many authors have recognized this puzzle. For example, Timothy Mitchell in The Rule of Experts writes that the possibility of social science is based upon taking certain historical experiences of the West as a template for a universal knowledge. But is this really possible? Social science is obviously the study of human experience and human societies. So can we generalize from the European experience to universal laws about all of humanity? Can the tragic European experiences of brutal religious warfare between Protestants and Catholics be generalized to all of humanity and all of religions? Does it hold for Amish, Buddhist, Confucians? Does it hold for the Islamic civilization or the Chinese civilization? The universal laws that we see in the social sciences, especially in economics, are blind to the diversity of human cultures, the variation across time, changes. As a central example, the concept of private property is central to economics, but even when you look at the history of Europe, it's changed substantially across time. Initially, in the 16th century, property was regarded as a trust, and individual rights were limited by public welfare. But due to frequent warfare among the landed aristocracy, with the outcome often being the seizure of losers' property, there was consensus emerged that property should be treated as private, as a sacred right prior to the government. In contrast with other societies, the Cherokee Constitution states that the lands of the Cherokee shall remain common property. So historical experience of Europe shaped the concept of property rights, but these are taken for granted in modern economics. Specifically, Hodgson describes in his book called How Economics Forgot History how this problem emerged in the battle of methodologies fought in the late 19th centuries between Schmoller and Menger and other followers of both approaches. In this battle, the qualitative, historical, institutional, contextual approach lost to the qualitative and scientific search for universal laws of motion for society. The problem of specificity, that is, how do we derive lessons from history, was never actually solved. What are the lessons that we can learn from the world wars, if there are any, for example? This problem remains unresolved. If we take every historical experience as unique, standing in its context, then nothing can be learned from history, and history is just one damn thing after another, as somebody said. If we take the scientific point of view and construct universal laws which are invariant across time and space and applicable to all societies, this obviously seems false as well. So how can we find the balance? How can we extract laws which have general applications? This is a genuine unresolved problem of specificity. To understand this better, it's important or useful to consider an alternative, which is a micro version of the same problem applied to, for example, my personal life. Can I use the historical experiences of mankind for making personal decisions? Can I choose whether to be an artist, an engineer, or a mountain climber by reading about people who were like this, who made such choices? Are there any universal laws based on past human experience which can guide me, or even based on my own personal experience? Even though the truth is often complex and lies between polar positions, it's very useful to consider two polar opposites to achieve clarity of thought. So we will focus on one polar extreme and let us meditate on uniqueness. I am unique. There is no one like me in the past or present. My environment, the situation I face, the choices I face, these are unique. My network of social relationships is unique. And any law based on past experiences, whether it's my personal experience or whether it's the experience of humanity in general, can only provide some general guidance, and specifics of my situation may always override this historical experience. What if the past experience is misleading? This moment has never occurred before. Maybe I have opportunities, choices which never existed in the past. Then even thinking about past experience would actually blind me to these opportunities. Experience could be a handicap. How can revolutionaries dare to think thoughts which have never been thought before? The eureka moment is outside the realm of science. Going back to implications for the social sciences, can we really derive mathematical laws for the motion of human beings or communities or societies as they move across time and evolve? Specifically, what of the lessons of the European experience do not apply to the Islamic civilization or to any other civilization? What if the European experience is unique and distinct and the rest of the world cannot use it? For example, no one can embark on a program of global conquest and colonization today as a path for progress. There are many features of secular modern societies which distinguish them dramatically from traditional societies and make the European experience unique. So secular modern societies have assumed that all individuals have different goals, and so the only way of living together is to create arbitrary and artificial laws to ensure that these people can live together in peace. As opposed to this, traditional societies have the conception of society as a body which has shared goals. So since everybody has different goals, collective action in secular society is only possible by the government. But in traditional societies, communities act together for common goals. Secular societies are based on competition, hedonism, individualism. Traditional societies value cooperation, generosity, and social responsibility. And secular modern societies are market societies where hunger is the incentive for wage slavery. Nobody can live without selling their lives for money. In traditional societies, humans' lives are infinitely precious and cannot be bought and sold for money. The goal of this was only to articulate the puzzle and not to solve it. It is clear that evolution and change in society means that the lessons of the past do not apply to the present necessarily. For example, the global financial crisis was a unique event which could not have been easily forecast, and in fact was not by economists or others. Lessons from historical experiences of one society may not apply to the other societies. And this is almost blindingly obvious. So the problem is, why does Western social science make claims to the contrary simply by dropping the label of Western and then using the label of science? In particular, why does economics claim to have general applicability to all societies? So these are the issues that we hope to consider in later posts.